dad can buy you.
Upon entering the Providence Municipal Court, she mistakenly thought it was just another service counter where money turned into inconvenience. Olivia Wellington discovered within a 30-minute period that Judge Frank Caprio's bench doesn't accept such currency. Despite opening doors across the city with her father's name, the same name failed to open the cell door she was about to enter. This is the story of how one girl claimed to have told an inmate that her dad was able to buy him. The moment when American justice reminded her that respect is not for sale. Before we discuss the outcome, let us ensure that the courtroom is free of any form of discrimination based on financial considerations. Miss Paige Lewis, the clerk of the docket, stood at her station with the morning memo in one hand. The tone of her voice resembled that of someone who had called 1,000 names, as evidenced by Judge Caprio's observation of the city of Providence v. Olivia Wellington. Please state your full name for the record. The young woman at the table was scrolling through her phone and didn't raise her voice immediately. Olivia Catherine Wellington's voice sounded like someone ordering coffee. Judge Caprio put his pen down. Miss Wellington, when you speak to this court, I want your attention. She looked up briefly. I said my name. Despite being directed at a screen, she sighed and placed the phone on the table. Olivia Catherine Wellington, happy. The judge's expression stayed the same. This court is equally valuable as your time. If you're here, be present, Miss Lewis made a note. The stenographer's keys slowed down. Respect was on the record before the fine was imposed. Judge Caprio fully opened the case file. You're charged with speeding in a 35 mph zone. That area is a school zone. The hours are active. You're also charged with reckless operation and non-compliance. Olivia shrugged off the charge. I was tardy. We'll get to that. The officer conducting the traffic stop, Thomas Rodriguez, approached and was sworn in. Rodriguez, who was in his mid-40s with a small build and had been on the force for 2 decades, stepped forward and took the oath. He had seen many things from the officer's perspective, but this one had always stayed with him, according to Judge Caprio. Please walk me through the area. Rodriguez opened his notebook. I cited the defendant's vehicle at 68 in a 35 school zone on October 14th at approximately 2:40 p.m. I made a stop at the intersection of Benefit and Angel. Did the offender comply right away? No, thank goodness. She waited for about 2 blocks before pulling over. As I walked by, she was on her phone. Judge Caprio left a note. What was going through your mind? Rodriguez scampered, uncertain what to say. Your Honor, I disobeyed when I inquired about the person who paid my salary. The judge replied with a resounding repeat. She proceeded to say, her father contributes more to this city than I make in my lifetime. Do you think that was intended to sway your judgment? Yes, dear, yes. I was tardy to meet up with friends. He managed to make it through. Judge Caprio slowly approached her. Miss Wellington, you can opt to testify under oath. Presently, Officer Rodriguez is presenting his testimony. You'll have to wait. She sat back in her chair. The judge turned his back to the officer. Did you receive any warnings, or were they directly directed to the police? I received a ticket for speeding and reckless driving. Thank you for your honor. The reason for her refusal to provide her license right away was that I should have contacted her lawyer before she handed it over. Judge Caprio nodded and conveyed appreciation. Officer Rodriguez, you may resign, but you will remain present. The defendant was the one receiving privilege, not the driver. After flipping a page in the file, Judge Caprio turned to another. His glasses briefly caught the overhead light. Miss Wellington, this isn't your first encounter with traffic in Providence. Olivia looked at her shoulder with her head tilted. I've been cited twice, like everyone else. There were 3 speeding tickets that I got in the past 18 months, and 2 of them were in school districts. A stop sign that you allegedly passed by near a crosswalk was dealt with by the council. Yes, all 3 were resolved on your behalf. You didn't show up for the court hearing. Her hands were spread out, which my father's lawyers handle. Judge Caprio removed his glasses and placed them on the bench. As a result, you have never been punished for unsafe driving. I paid for it, and your father paid it through his lawyers. You've never made a conscious decision to act. Olivia's voice became sharper. Is that against the law, but it clarifies why you consider this transactional? Isn't it? The question remained indefinite. Miss Lewis looked at the judge. The stenographer continued to type. Judge Caprio calmly suggested that we return to that. He then placed his hands on the bench. Miss Wellington, do you realize that children require drivers to exercise care in school zones? I am curious as to why you were driving at a speed of 68 mph. I previously informed you that I was running late. Can you explain why? She hesitated. Lunch with friends was of more significance than the safety of children walking home from school. That's not what I meant. You caused Olivia's jaw to tighten. I understand. You want me to feel bad about it. I'll pay the fine. Let's do it. Judge Caprio leaned down. You're going to pay just like how they did the previous 3 times. I'll be driving the same route next week, so be cautious. Is it your decision to take on the matter once more, or will your father's legal team handle it? Olivia walked away suddenly. What are your expectations of me? I affirmed I'll pay. Sit down, Miss Wellington. She stood up. This is preposterous. The mayor and I have dinner at our house, and my father, Richard Wellington, who is the biggest contributor to the city's public funds. The expression on Judge Caprio's face remained unchanged. You're trying to make this into something else. Miss Wellington, please sit down or you'll be taken to Officer Wilson. Judge Caprio was patient. Did you mention that your father's tax income should have an impact on my handling of your case? It might be helpful to know who supports this city. Every day, I recall individuals coming to the area without lawyers, paying their fines from grocery bills, and not disclosing to me if their father is familiar with the mayor. The stenographer's hands froze during keystroke. Miss Lewis glanced up from her desk. Officer Wilson shifted his weight near the door. The tone of Judge Caprio remained unaltered. Did you suggest that the stenographer read the defendant's final statement? Miss Lewis nodded, and the judge proceeded to read it aloud. The wealth test authority in the courtroom was viewed for 5 seconds, 7 minutes, and 10 minutes before Judge Caprio gave his verdict. Miss Wellington, you have insulted this court, the office I work for, and every citizen who has ever stood where I've stood without money to protect them. Olivia's confidence was shattered. It wasn't an expression, it was just a belief. Is it your opinion that justice is for sale? If not, please clarify your viewpoint. She was unable to articulate her thoughts. I'm referring to my family members. I know exactly how this works. How does it work? The fact that individuals with financial resources are treated differently is evident in the court case. Judge Caprio leaned forward. I am not present in this courtroom. Olivia attempted to use a different approach. Apologies for any inconvenience. I should not have said that. Is it okay to pay the fine and move on? We haven't spoken about contempt. Her gaze widened. I'm upset that you informed the judge that he could be bought in person, but I didn't mean to. Judge Caprio paused and shook his head. He realized that he was making a mistake by treating people like they were giving instructions without their last name. Fair enough, given that you drove 68 in a school zone and told the officer Rodriguez that his salary was irrelevant, but you defended yourself and said your father can buy me out. It's time to address the issue of equity. Olivia chimed in. We all know that money is a sensitive topic. Miss Wellington, money is a significant factor in many places, but in this particular case, it is only present in traffic court. According to Judge Caprio, this is the place where a grandmother who cannot afford to pay her water bill pays for her parking ticket. It is also where an unmarried father takes time off work to be responsible for traffic violations. This is where the city of Providence will determine its own behavior, not just what happens at the pump, and that's where this incident occurred. If you think judges should safeguard the courtroom from arrogance, please sign a court order to ensure that justice is served to more people. Olivia was put on trial again. I apologize for any offense she may have committed. Please forgive me if I'm being too obvious. Judge Caprio scrutinized her. Is there a specific reason for me to continue speaking to you instead of simply imposing my sentence? Before departing, it's important to be aware that while you can find someone, you cannot pay for their respect. Respect, after all, is earned through your behavior, particularly when you have authority over others. Is it your understanding, or are you simply saying what you feel will be the quickest way for you to leave this world? Officer Wilson pleaded with Judge Caprio to remain present as the bailiff approached the defendant's table. Olivia looked concerned. The court opted for discipline rather than humiliation and proceeded to clear the papers. Ms. Wellington, you were caught speeding in a school area, driving recklessly, and failed to adhere to proper procedures. Olivia nodded in agreement. That's fine. I'll pay it today. I'm not done yet. Her expression paled in comparison. For direct indecent assault in this court, I hold you in contempt. The sentence is 30 days of custody to be executed immediately. You're remanded to the adult correctional facility. After 15 days, you may opt for a behavioral evaluation for potential early release. Olivia stood up once more, her voice breaking. You can't arrest me. Miss Wellington, my name is Olivia Wellington. You've already made it clear that you are in contempt of this court and will now have to work for my father. The expression on Judge Caprio's face remained unchanged. Officer Wilson, please take Miss Wellington into custody. Please remove the handcuffs and place your hands behind your back. It's irrational of you to do this to me. Ma'am, turn around. She glanced at Judge Caprio, then at Miss Lewis, and finally at Officer Rodriguez, hoping for someone to intervene. No one moved in the courtroom. Officer Wilson cuffed her and guided her hands behind her back. Olivia's voice shook with a metallic click. Judge Caprio announced on the bench that his father will be buried. Your father is welcome to attend your review hearing. He cannot make his way here today. Officer Wilson directed her towards the side door. She bent over to look at the judge. Judge Caprio acknowledged that the situation was not over yet. The door was closed behind them. The moment the cuffs closed, money ran out. Miss Lewis contacted the next case as the courtroom resolved the case. A man in his 60s approached the defendant's table. His hands were calloused, his shirt pressed but collared. Judge Caprio looked at the file. Mr. Bernard Shaw, you are here for a parking violation near Kennedy Plaza. Yes, I am honored. I was in a loading zone and was driving the REPA bus when I had my break 10 minutes later. I was required to use the restroom at the diner, but I didn't intend to park there. The fine was $85. I acknowledge your deference. Can you tell me how long you've been working as a bus driver, Mr. Shaw? Honor your 22nd birthday. There are no other violations on your record. I adhere to the rules. The message from Judge Caprio reads, my fine has been reduced to $40. Pay at the clerk's window and say thank you for your service to this city. Shaw blinked. I am honored by that. Thank you, Mr. Shaw exited the courtroom and Judge Caprio resumed his remarks. Mr. Shaw, were you present at the previous hearing? I am indeed honored. Do you have anything to say? Mr. Shaw paused before making a thoughtful comment. Your Honor, I've attended this court 3 times in 22 years. Each time I arrived, I paid my dues and left with a respectful gesture. I'm pleased that everyone is expected to do the same, regardless of their father. Judge Caprio nodded. That's the way the public trusts us, Mr. Shaw. The bus driver departed via the main entrance, which Olivia Wellington had been unable to enter. Judge Caprio made a brief appearance in the courtroom, while other individuals waited for future cases. A small group of reporters emerged from the back row due to the disturbance. The judge emphasized that when someone tells them that they can buy something for their father, they aren't insulting themselves. I'll just go home and sleep normally. Every clerk who processes paperwork is subject to ridicule. Every police officer who issues citations without consideration. Every grandmother who saved money from her Social Security account to pay a parking ticket because she thinks she should be doing the right thing. He stopped. This courtroom belongs to those individuals. It belongs to the public, not just the mayor's dinner guests and the highest-paying taxpayers, and is not owned by anyone except the father. The notes were taken by Miss Lewis and transcribed by the stenographer. Judge Caprio went on to say that wealth can buy many things in Providence, including legal representation. While it can provide luxury cars to drive in, comfort, and opportunity, it cannot substitute it for my personal judgment or immunity from the consequences of driving too fast. Additionally, I cannot afford to buy this bench. He glanced back at his case. This court is adjourned for the morning recess. Equality is most affected by financial constraints. The video was filmed and shared on social media by that afternoon. The headline featured the words, "Billionaire's daughter tells Ja he can buy you a prison sentence for contempt." Local news broadcasted the broadcast, and legal experts debated whether 30 days was too long for the initial indictment of wealth discrimination in both directions. Defense attorneys referred to it as grandstanding. The response in the comment sections, coffee shops, and ripab buses passing through Providence was dissimilar. It's about time. This is the task judges should undertake. A comment about my aunt paying a fine for an expired meter and using her prescription budget has gone viral. I'm glad that wealthy children can't afford to buy their way out, and it's not just the use of handcuffs that have become popular in the video, but the response Judge Caprio gave in response to Olivia on how her father was treated. The phrase, "you can buy many things in Providence, but you cannot buy this bench," has become a meme, as it has been used to call attention to the fact that some institutions are still not willing to be bought. Richard Wellington's lawyers filed, resolving the contempt sentence 3 days later. According to their argument, Olivia's statement was not literal corruption, but rather an emotional hyperbole. They cited her age, her lack of criminal history, and her contributions to charity. Judge Caprio denied the motion in a written form. It reflected a mindset that judicial decisions are for the profit of those with adequate resources. These mindsets, expressed in an open court environment, undermine public faith in the justice system. The contempt verdict remains in effect, with the defendant having the right to request review after 15 days. Despite not showing up in court, Richard Wellington's legal team handled the case as they had handled all other matters. Olivia Wellington was granted a video review of her behavior, wearing the typical adult prison attire. Her hair was pulled back and she appeared smaller. Her lawyer spoke initially. Miss Wellington has been compliant throughout her time in jail. There have been no disciplinary proceedings at the facility. She's had a chance to reflect on her actions and wants to speak in court. Judge Caprio scanned the screen. "Miss Wellington, please speak." Olivia breathed a sigh of relief. "I was mistaken, not just in what I said, but in how I lived my life. My mindset was that I didn't need to worry about rules because they were always there to fix them. I was unaware that the regulations were in place to safeguard individuals, not to inconvenience me." She paused. "I've encountered people in this area who have been sentenced to jail because they were desperate, scared, or had no other alternative. In fact, I wasn't desperate. I didn't care, it's even worse." Judge Caprio listened intently. "I cannot undo what I said," Olivia proceeded. "Nevertheless, I swear I won't think like that anymore. And if you reduce my punishment, do it by doing community service, not through my family's foundation, but so I can finally see the people I've been neglecting my whole life." According to Judge Caprio, your record in the legal system is impeccable, and your statement is more nuanced than what you said in my courtroom 2 weeks ago. Olivia nodded and lowered the sentence to time served effective immediately. "You're free this afternoon, but I'm supplementing your traffic sentence with 200 hours of community service. Those hours will be served by the Providence School Safety Program, which oversees crosswalks in the school districts where you were cited. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't say goodbye yet. If you don't finish those hours or appear before me again on any fee, the remaining 15 days will be restored and you'll start from square one." "Yes, that's an honor." Afterward, we're all done. "Good luck, Miss Wellington." The screen went dark. Miss Lewis recorded the last line in the file. Another case was settled and a lesson was learned. A reporter inquired whether Judge Caprio had been too harsh on Olivia Wellington. He pondered this question. He mentioned that he has been asked many times about it, and I always respond in the same way. My responsibility is not to be harsh or lenient, but rather to treat everyone fairly. Nevertheless, she didn't go to jail for speeding for 30 days. She opted for disrespectful behavior. And disrespect is not solely about showing respect to yourself, but rather about respecting others. If the bus driver takes a day off work to pay his $40 fine in full, what message does it convey to the other party? The reporter gave a nod. People assume that judges have power, but only if the public believes that we can use it fairly. If they think we're ready to sell, we don't matter. If someone says, "My dad can buy you," it's a non-negotiation that applies to all of us. Do you believe she learned anything? I'm optimistic. However, she found out in my case that success cannot be bought with money. The interview was broadcasted that evening, with 14,000 views and one noteworthy comment. This is what justice seems like, albeit not in a perfect way. She entered the mindset that power and price are identical, but she later discovered that respect is synonymous with freedom. Despite Judge Caprio's lack of change in the courtroom, A young woman was left wondering if you would have given her 30 days to consider the fact that some things are still illegal to buy or sell in America. What would you have done differently? Share your thoughts with us in the comments and encourage those who believe that status is a shield to seek justice. Don't forget to subscribe to Court Proceedings, as this is where money will stop talking and justice will be served. It is not legal advice, not actual court reporting or any kind of representation of a specific real-life case.